Adab and good evening to our viewers. Lucknow Bioscope welcomes you to yet another episode of Nayaab Nageene. In these episodes, we look at Lucknow through its people, those who have contributed to its temper and character. Our Nayaab Nageena for this evening is Mr. Chander Prakash from the family of Universal Booksellers, a well-known and well-loved figure from the city. I am privileged to have known Chander Prakash for a long time and have been part of many of his initiatives or watched his journey from the sidelines. When I earlier mentioned the temper of the city, I meant that Chander Prakash's earlier initiatives were a precursor to the literary and cultural temper of Lucknow as we see it today. Today, we are spoiled for choice which play to see, what talk to attend, which visiting author to meet. So, we are meeting Chander Prakash today, who was doing all of this and more in the late 80s and 90s.
Noor, I would just like to say a few things. Just as a starter. ये सब आपकी नज़रों का ही तो कमाल है, वरना मैं एक खामोशी की फिराक में खुद ही भटक रहा हूं। मंजिल मिले या ना मिले, लेकिन आप जैसे हम सफर जरूर मिले। सनत कदा को, लखनऊ बायोस्कोप को और माधवी कुकरेजा जी को धन्यवाद। और नूर, आपने मुझे इस लायक समझा, उसके लिए भी शुक्रिया।
Chander, the poet in you comes out.
It's a very natural outpouring.
Can we just get on with our conversation?
Yes.
Can you tell me something about your basic business? Or how did it originate?
You know, two young brothers in a very distant corner of the country, in the northwestern frontier province, a city, a small town called I'm forgetting the name.
Doesn't matter. We can move. You can.
And in Multan, Dera Ghazi Khan, in Multan, these two brothers set out and ventured forth to give wings to their dreams and aspirations. And they traversed to Lucknow in the early 30s, and they started the business of setting up a book business here. They did start, and they found roots here, and gradually over time they invited some of their friends and relatives from across where they were, from their hometowns, and they came and joined them. And my father, Mr. Govindram, he mentored them and helped them open up bookstores across the country, from Mau to Kanpur to Delhi, then Chandigarh, Allahabad, Jabalpur. He helped establish bookstores of friends and relatives. And they all carried the name of Universal there. And each one of them did themselves proud by serving the society wherever they were. And very soon, Universal became a brand name connected with books. Just as Bata is associated with footwear, Universal came to symbolize books. And in every city, you will find, most of the cities of this country, you will find one, two or so many Universals there in the book trade, in the book profession. My father, Govindram, was a great human being, a very sensitive and a kind-hearted humane being. And he found an outpouring to his expressions through his shairi. He was, unka takallus tha andaz. And we are soon going to publish a collection of his poetry very soon. He was also the president of Rife-Aam Club and Lucknow Club at that time. And one thing very fascinating was that he passed away in 67. And after a gap of over 55 years, in the recently held 4th International Urdu Conference, he was felicitated for what I hear was not only as a shair, but for what he did for the mushairas that happened, and also he silently helped so many shairs who were economically down and out. Silently he would do it. That's what I learned. That was my father. He was a great guy and a good human being. You know, life moved on and the business moved on. 1984, I felt very proud to have been invited by the British government for a 3-week visit to United Kingdom to see the publishing industry of UK. It was a great learning experience there. In 2006, we were felicitated as the best bookseller in the country, and in 2017, again we were felicitated as the most distinguished bookseller. When I look back and I see the footprints, we've come a long, long way. There have been moments of happiness, there have been challenging moments, and there have been moments of despair. My father went away in 67. I lost my eldest brother Omi in the 89s. And then Vishan, my elder brother, and me, we carried on the business, and we continue it today in the style and name of Universal Booksellers, with the legacy of over 85 plus years, with the third generation now in place in the form of Manav and Gaurav Prakash, and the fourth generation too is now in place in the form of Raghav Prakash. But like there have been moments of despair, and in December we again lost Vishan, my elder brother. It was a sad day for us. But like they say, you win some or you lose some. And when you win a new generation, you lose the older generation. शायद यही निज़ाम है जिंदगी का. So life moves on.
Chander, I don't think there's anybody in Lucknow that remains untouched by your shop in some way or the other. Untouched by you, your family members, the shop that you run, with so much of the traditional Lucknowi tehzeeb. अगर आप लखनऊ की अच्छी ज़बान और अच्छी तहजीब सुनना और देखना चाहें तो आप यूनिवर्सल आइए.
Oh my God, I'm touched. I'm touched.
Yes,
I'm touched.
That is your, I would say USP. USP sounds rather crude.
It's a natural outpouring. You cannot sustain this for long.
And it cuts across generations.
It has to come naturally. You can't sustain it for long.
Several eminent personalities have visited you. Could you tell us something about any interesting episode or any interesting person who has visited the bookshop?
Yes, in this journey of over 85 years, there have been some very fascinating personalities and very interesting personalities that we've had the proud occasion to host. And I could narrate a few, I could mention a few. Indira Gandhi ji, when she was the Prime Minister, she was a visitor. Then you had the President V.V. Giri, he was a visitor. And then you have the current Governor of Kerala, Arif Muhammad Khan Sahab. He has been a regular visitor to us whenever he visits Lucknow. And there's one very interesting incident which I would like to narrate. It was in the 70s. I was in the shop, and suddenly I find a tall, smart, a very handsome, a guy with a tremendous aura around him walk into the shop. And I looked at him, I said, good Lord, what is he doing in the city? Because in the 70s, there were very few celebrities who visited the city, and when they did, there was a lot of hullabaloo all over the town that so-and-so is coming and so-and-so is coming. But for a guy like that to have come unannounced, it happened to be Satyajit Ray in the shop, and he was standing inside and looking around. So I said, good Lord, what is he doing in this city, and what is he doing in our bookshop? So I thought I was tall, so I walked up to him. He was 6'4" or 4.5", and I was looking like a midget in front of him. And I looked up to him, and he looked down upon me, and I said, sir, can I help you? He says, you're going to help me? son, this is my bookshop. So I said, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, sir. It was quite a information for me. He says, when I was young, I used to come to Lucknow, and my uncle used to stay in AP Sen Road in Lucknow near Charbagh railway station. And I used to come to visit him, and I used to come to your shop, and your father used to give me a stool, and I used to sit and read comics for hours. And for that old association, he says, I want to have a cup of coffee with you. He had actually come to Lucknow to do a recce for the Shatranj Ke Khiladi. And for that association, he called me to Clark's, and for half an hour, he closed the doors and he gave me full attention. I was absolutely chuffed. And I came out more than 56 inches. People kept disturbing him. Dadu, taxi is waiting. Sun is going down. We have to move fast. But he heard nothing. Half an hour, the kind of attention he gave me was fantastic. And I came out chuffed. But that's not all. There's another part to the story. 45 years later, about 4-5 years earlier, 4 gentlemen walked into the shop. And one of them came to me and he said, I want to speak to the owner. I said, what can I do for you? He said, we want to shoot a film. And I said, I'm sorry, we don't permit shooting in the bookshop. I said, but out of courtesy, he wants to shoot. He says, those 3 gentlemen standing there. And I looked at them and I said, out of courtesy, let me go and talk to them. So I went across to them and I said, what do you want to shoot? They said, it's a sequel of Feluda series that we want to shoot. I said, but that is Satyajit Ray's Feluda. Is written by Satyajit Ray. He said, yes, of course, but don't you recognize this person? I said, no. He said, he's Sandeep Ray, son of Satyajit Ray. I said, good Lord. I said, I asked him, I said, you keep quiet now. Where you were standing, your father was standing exactly at the same spot. And I narrated that. He says, no, I remember because we were staying at Clark's. I was with him at that time. And then he narrated, he said, now you wait a minute. He kept me quiet. He said, now, I'll tell you why we want to shoot the sequence. And he says, the Feluda is a detective who's chasing his victim. And that victim happens to be passing through a bazaar street. And that bazaar street happens to be Hazratganj. And while he's chasing his victim, he passes by a bookstore. And while he's passing, he looks inside the bookstore and he finds some relatives in. And he comes in to meet those relatives. So that is the sequence I want to shoot. He said, but wait a minute. This storyline was conceptualized and written by him keeping your bookshop in mind, perhaps.
Oh, wonderful.
Of his childhood memories or his young days memories. That is why he fitted it in. I said, okay. So now you can shoot your film here. He shot it for 2-3 days and without a charge, he did it. And then it was released in Inox in Lucknow, the Bengali version. He rang me up Sandeep Ray a couple of times. And so that's another very interesting part
that's
of...
very interesting.
Yes. So these are wonderful moments of a bookstore.
Yes.
Some very well-known personalities, some unknown personalities, some simple people out of a hunger for knowledge or for truth.
Who come and visit you.
That's a bookstore.
So, of course, there must be many challenges, Chander, that lie ahead of you as a bookseller, more so today. How do you look at those challenges, or how are you going to face those challenges?
Noor, the book trade in India is one of the most unrecognized entrepreneurial success stories of the country. It is very, very unrecognized. But the fact is, we fought our battles and we have survived all these longs on our own merit. On our own steam and our own merit, we've carried it forward. But yes, with the new advent of technology, there has been a great disruption. Like in every other trade, there has been a disruption. So the book trade has also been affected very aggressively. But then we have combated the times and we are moving on. Now, with the advent of technology, with the online and many other forms of things which have come about, the traditional professional bookstores are under a severe strain. And the fact is that a lot of bookstores are closing. The journey, because of the advent of technology, the traditional bookstores are giving space to those selling books. Now, selling books, there's a difference between booksellers and selling books. Booksellers are traditionally professional booksellers. When you need a book, or when you need an information about some topic or something or some project, you go to a bookseller. But if you are browsing, you can browse on the pavements, you can browse in a mall culture, you can do it all the time. But there is a difference. And I keep saying, when you enter a bookstore, you are registered by your face. When you enter a mall, you are registered with your footprint. And when you go online, you are recorded with your fingerprint. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. And like I said, it's always said, if a river dies, then the city is not far behind. Similarly, if bookstores, the traditional professional bookstores were to vanish, then the culture would also not be too far behind. The state of the bookshops in any city is an indicator of the culture of that city. That's how important bookstores are. It is not merely a place of commercial transaction. It's much, much more, both from the people who visit it and also from the people, from the perspective of the people who run it. We have a tremendous responsibility towards societal evolution, and we have done it for the sake of the country. We've done it all these years. We are fighting our battles. It's not easy, and I'm sure we will adapt ourselves. We ourselves on our own, we've gone into social media. We have our website, we have on Instagram, we are on Facebook. So all that is being done to keep pace with the changing times. But yes, there are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts.
Chander, I have some very happy memories of the literary activities that you organize in this shop. I've been a part of many of them, and I think though that was the first time Lucknow was being exposed to something like this, and you initiated a lot of things. I still have those memories from the 80s, from the 90s, before we moved into maybe 2010 or so, and then other people entered the fray, and today there's no end to what's happening in Lucknow. But I always look at you as the person who started it all.
Well, I thank you for your kind words.
Because I was there.
Yes, yes. It's been a long journey, and one of the reasons why we've been able to continue the journey of over 85 years, we've been continuously adapting, innovating, re-engineering ourselves to keep pace with the changing times. In the 80s, for the first time we did a very revolutionary concept, is having a library, circulating library within the bookshop.
I was a member.
Yes, you were. And we called it the Book Lib.
Book Lib.
We had over 1,000 members
at
one point of time.
But let me tell you, my mother, me and my children, all three were members.
Yes. So that was an innovation to keep with the times, to keep for people who would like to read a lot and probably not spend so much of money. We gave space to those kind of people to read. And then of course, again in the 90s, there was a concept which was very close to my heart. It came from my mother. My mother used to say, if you're not healthy, everything else will go for a 6.
Yes,
everything, economy. So I built up on that, and I said that if the society has to economically evolve, be vibrant and continue, it has to be socially and it has to be very healthy and socially vibrant. It has to have that kind of a comfort level. And built on that, I developed a concept. Traditional newspapers, there is a kind of a unwritten law that they should provide about 10 to 15% approximately. I don't know about the exact percentage, but part of that percentage of the news coverage should cover issues on health and social well-being. So, but what we found was that the way they covered it was more like an apology, a kind of a just showing that they were doing it. It was not actually a very aggressive way of positioning health and social issues before the public. So I developed a concept. I said, if India has to succeed and if India has to stand on its own 2 feet, economically strong, then social and health journalism has to stand on its own two feet. And to prove a point, I started Shansi, tried after that, Mahila Samakhya's tried to take it out. And I have a whole file of letters which I used to get from villages. On inland letter forms. I can show it to you sometime. It's fantastic. I mean, those postcards, people used to say thank you with the kind of information you had. And we had a very limited vocabulary for around 2,000 words that we worked under, so that it was easily readable by the new literates, the adult new literates. And we had no politics, no crime, and it was only on social and health issues. Then, of course, we had so many reading sessions, of which you are privy to. You have been seeing that. We also had we started a concept of browsing, free browsing, where we served you free coffee.
And Nibu chai.
We did it for many years, till we did have to close it down because people were spilling the coffee onto the books. So that was a little bit no-no. So we ultimately did it for many years, then we gave it up. And amongst the tremendous luminaries that we hosted was Justice Leela Seth.
That was a wonderful session.
Yes, you
I
were here.
attended it. Yes.
There were there were around 150 people here in this place.
Here.
Yes. And it continued.
And this was the flow on which the browsing would take place.
Yes. And it continued. That session continued for over 2 hours.
Yes,
she was the mother of Vikram Seth and a very big legal luminary in her own right. In her own right.
I think Patna High Court. She was the Chief Justice.
Yes. And Vikas Sarup was there.
I was there for that session also.
And this
Q&A.
Yes, Q&A. Tom Alter was there. Then you had, we hosted something again very revolutionary we did, which I think nobody in the country did it. We have hosted Gulzar Saab for a wine and cheese session. It was a wonderful session. So we've been doing so many things. Then we hosted. There was a group called the Cafferati, which was into poems and storytelling and whatever it was. And we had that group. We hosted that group for many years.
For many years.
And then we also hosted the Kadambani group. Continued doing that. So we have done multifaceted thing. Another thing which probably people have forgotten. 1857, the first shot when Lucknow joined the 1857 was at 7 p.m. on the 30th of June in 1857, and I still remember talking about 1857 and what 1857 meant for the country and where we have reached. And you'll be surprised. Nasir Abid used to be here.
Yes.
Nasir Abid and me, we worked together and we identified so many families who had connections, who people were massacred or who died during that period of 1857, or they were hanged. And it was a wonderful session, a big eye-opener. Exactly at 7 p.m. on the 30th of June 2007 we did it to commemorate 150 years. So we've been constantly innovating, changing our working pattern to move with the times. And we have a fair amount of responsibility to create a value addition for the profession we are involved in.
Chander, you've done a lot. I mean, apart from book selling, I think it's hard to keep up with whatever you're telling our viewers. And other than your literary activities, there are many other things that you have been doing. I mean, not in the shop as such, but outside the shop. There are many things that you have been associated with, many movements, many campaigns. So you, in your different avatars, could you tell our viewers something about that? That's again a long story.
It's like you're creating a mountain out of a molehill.
I'm opening a Pandora's box, that's all.
No. It all started 1984.
Because I've seen it.
Yes, 1984. When I just mentioned I was invited by the British government, and I would like to mention a brief incident which was an eye-opener to me. And during one of my leisurely walks in Scotland, during that visit, I wanted to visit the washroom. So I asked a gentleman while I was walking down the streets of, I think it was Edinburgh, and I asked a gentleman, I said, "Sir, where is the washroom?" So he pointed across the road. He said, "Son, that's the washroom." So I made a beeline for the washroom across the road, and while I was walking, I saw an elderly, roly-poly gentleman also walking in small steps towards the same washroom. I was a few paces ahead. It was a swing door. I reached that door earlier, and I opened the door. I held it in my hand, and I saw this gentleman, elderly gentleman, short and stout, and also just a few paces behind. So I held the door open for him, and as he came closer, I said, "Sir, after you." He looked at me with a fantastic smile. I can never forget that smile. And he said, "Young man, are you from Lucknow?" You know, the Scottish are slightly tight on their jaws. We in India have this open jaw system, and we use our jaws to full effect. But they have a very tight jaw, and they speak with a tight jawed approach. And I said, "Sir, what are you saying?" He says, "Are you from Lucknow?" I said, "How the hell does he know where I come from?" In Lucknow parlance, मेरा ढक्कन उड़ गया, ढक्कन उड़ गया. And I was wondering, how the hell does he know where I come from? Is he from the intelligence? I looked around. I said, "Sir, but how did you know?" He says, "Young man, what you did can only come from a person from Lucknow." Arey, I had tears in my eyes, and whenever I narrate it, I get goose pimples. And that is Lucknow. I mean, that is fantastic.
Had a family connection.
Could be something, but I mean, where in the world can somebody identify you from where you come from by just one act? Yes. It's impossible. And in '84 in Edinburgh, I mean, it's amazing, this story. I mean, I keep telling people this is what Lucknow is, and I came back with a new understanding of this city. वो कहते हैं ना, घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. Where you are born, you don't appreciate, you take everything for granted. But I said, if this is the thing, and it set me thinking. And then I got an opportunity to do things for this city, and I found, you know, Lucknow is a tremendous, it's a melting pot of cultures and religions. Yes. All amalgamated into one color.
It's a syncretic.
It's a syncretic civilization, syncretic culture. You cannot isolate one from the other. It is one color. That is what Lucknow is. And then I got an opportunity to be a part of civil defense.
Yes.
And got an opportunity to serve the city of my birth through various opportunities which came my way in the form of communal harmony, conflict resolution between communities. There have been many instances where there were conflicts, and I, along with my team,
resolved them,
helped them resolve them, brought people on the talking table, addressed issues with the government, with the district administration. I was like a kind of a bridge between the district administration and the public. And so many times it was just a misunderstanding which created so many issues. But then when citizens enter, it was so easy to get the two people sitting across and sorting out issues. It was so natural. There have been very difficult moments as well. I mean, we can go on and on talking about the tremendous things that happened there. Another thing, while I was there, for the first time in the state or probably in the country, I put into place the community policing system. We created a network a network in Mahanagar Kotwali area, a community policing system full in place, which was fantastic. It worked very well. It was an experimental stage. It worked very, very well. That was a very fun, wonderful initiative, which I think the government took note of it also. And then there was this Pulse Polio.
I remember you were
yes. The Pulse Polio campaign was a campaign which was continuing for a long, long time,
yes.
And yet it was not reaching the desired results. There was a large section of the minority community which was averse to taking the Pulse Polio drops, if you remember.
Yes, I remember.
Due to some rumors,
yes,
which were there. And if I were to say that I spearheaded a campaign to reach out to that community, and through a get together of the minority community stalwarts from all over the state. In Clarks, we had a get together.
I remember it.
Yes,
I remember.
where there were people from UNICEF, UNESCO, UNICEF, WHO, and representatives from the government and all these minority communities, and we thrashed out the issue. And what emerged out of that was a message that was the turning point in the war against polio. And I can tell you, nobody talks about it, nobody knows about it, but that was the real turning point. If polio ultimately vanished, Lucknow 2002 was the turning point of the war against polio. Nobody knows about it. I've not spoken about it earlier, but that is what happened actually.
But it's been the most successful campaign.
Yes. And you know, we had a huge team of people, about 1,500 to 2,000 people under me, and they were all volunteers. And we gave a full night and day. We used to slog it out, trying to create community mobilization for the cause of the city. It was a wonderful issue. And then, of course, we were also an extension of the government. All that we were there. We also played a very major role at that time. You had these election voter ID cards and distributing them, reaching out to people to get themselves photographed. So we were also part of that campaign. And another very interesting thing was, which was very, very challenging. I remember the DM called me once and he said, Chander, they were having some problems with the cable network people in terms of identifying the entertainment tax that was due to the city. And he called me, he said, Chander, can we do a census of the cable connections in the city? I said, yes, we'll do it. And can you imagine, in 15 days, we did a complete survey of the city, and I gave him a report with names and addresses of cable connections in 15 days with zero expenditure. Not one paisa spent, and we did a complete census of that city. So these are some of the proud moments that I remember. But there are so many, I can keep going on, not for any, but what I'm trying to say is I'm talking about it for the simple reason that it was a wonderful opportunity, and that civil defense was a great opportunity to give back to society what we've taken from society. And I'm sure there are many such other organizations which are still working, and civil defense continues. I retired subsequently due to certain health reasons or others. So I did my job for about a few years, and so that was a great memorable experience.
Chander, I saw a message on Facebook today, and it was from a Dr. Satish Rai, president of the Global Girmitia Association. And I quote him, indeed a Nageena, not just of Lucknow. I mean, he's saying of you. Indeed a Nageena, not just of Lucknow, but also of UP, Bharat and the diaspora. Congratulations, Sirji. Congratulations, Sirji. I extend congratulations on behalf of the Global Girmitia Committee. What do you have to do with the Girmitias? Well, can you just explain in one line what a Girmitia is?
I'll take a few sentences to tell you what it was all about. I'm very proud of this initiative which I happen to be a part of. You know, the Girmitias, I think people have heard the word Girmitias.
Yes.
Gandhi was a Girmitia, and Naipaul was a Girmitia. And they've been, from 1828 to 1916, 1.2 million Indians were taken away to work as kind of bonded laborers in the British colonies. Slavery had been abolished, and the British required cheap labor. So they caught hold of the power-stricken Indians who could not read or write, and under an Indian indenture system, they carried away 1.2 million Indians, mostly from eastern UP, Bihar, mostly from there. They actually were taken away under a mistaken
Yes.
and
Agreement.
misinformed agreement, and they wanted cheap labor, and they were taken away in pitiable condition to work in those fields. I mean, the women lived in pitiable conditions, and you hear the stories, it was unbelievable. And I happened to meet Satish Rai. Satish Rai, for many years, he was from Fiji, then he moved on to Australia. And for many years, he was trying to reach out to the Indian government to talk about the feeling of these Indians to reach out to their alma mater, the country of their parents, or their parents.
Of their parents.
And, in spite of over 3 or 4 generations, they continue to speak our language. They are more religious than us. They are more culturally aware than each one of us are. They speak Bhojpuri. So I was able to carry their voice, give voice to their expressions. And in the form of, I was a part of, in 2016, I was a part of the tourism advisory committees. And during one of them, which was chaired by the then Chief Minister, I told him that in 2000, the meeting happened in 2015, and I told him in 2016, it was 100 years of the abrogation of the Indian indenture system. And Gopal Krishan Gokhale and Totaram and Gandhiji also played a very major role in the cancellation, the abrogation of this Indian indenture system, saying it's wrong what you all are doing. So the British abrogated it in 2016, 2017. So I told this committee, the Tourism Advisory Committee, that next year is the 100 years of the abrogation of the Indian indenture systems, and these people are looking up to us. They're trying to reach out to us, and we are not even looking at them. We don't even know where they exist. And in their dreams, they think about our gods, they think about our temples, and they speak our language, and yet we are not even looking at them. The least what we can do is that next year, when they're having the 100 years, let UP celebrate their 200 years. And they did, in the form of the first NRI conference, which was held in Agra. I chaired a session on the Girmitiyas, and the ambassador of Mauritius, he spoke in Bhojpuri.
Yes.
There were the prime ministers there. They were ex-prime ministers. There were people from all over. Satish Rai was there, and there were people. And for the first time in the world, they got an official platform to showcase that they were Girmitiyas. And I made everybody stand up for that 1 minute silence on behalf of all those people who went away, who died in transit, who died, could not come back to the country of their birth. So, and that set an emotional chord. Earlier, these people used to call themselves people of Indian origin. But after that session, when the word got around that there was 1 minute silence and in the name of the Girmitiyas, then it spread like wildfire. And they shed away the shackles of being shameful about calling themselves Girmitiya, and they started forming Girmitiya associations. And they consider me as a kind of a patron of all the associations all over the world. So that is how it has been. I'm very proud of the fact that there has been official recognition, and they are moving forward. Communication is going on. Perhaps at some stage, these Indians, for no fault of theirs, who are settled abroad, their number is about 7 to 10 millions.
Yes.
7 to 10 million across the globe now. I mean, but that's how it is. And I think it's high time that the government also started building bridges with them and letting them connect them. For no fault of theirs, they lost out from the country of their ancestors. So these are some of the things which I felt I was very happy, though it didn't come to me as a planned activity, but it just happened because perhaps I was true to every moment, and I captured the moments that came along, and I reacted naturally to whatever came along.
Chander, why then were you surprised when we said we want you as part of our Nayaab Nageene session? Look what so many things you've done other than book selling.
Well, God has been kind, and like I said, I've never done it for any purpose.
Yes, I know.
Every moment has led me to another moment, and it has come so naturally. I mean, it is not a directed or a journey which has come with the purpose or planned. It's not.
Yes.
Nothing has been planned. It has just happened. I'm fortunate to have been a part of many initiatives. Some I've told you, some I've not been able to, probably
Yes,
due to
because of
yes,
you know
yes, yeah.
the time factor.
Yes.
I just want the viewers to know that they can post their questions as soon as this session is over. There can be a Q&A session. Many people don't know that Chander is also a poet, and he posts regularly under his what he calls Sunday musings. So I read a lot of his poetry. I read a lot of his philosophy, and so I think the last thing that we could do for this session, could you recite one small poem in English and one small poem in Hindi for our viewers?
No, but before you ask me to recite, I would just like to mention, neither am I a poet, neither am I a kind of an intellectual, neither am I a kind of a motivator. These are just natural outpourings. I guess what is within me, my life has been dedicated to, I've been chasing my inner self. And these outpourings are a part of my reactions from the inner self, or whatever you may call it. And deep down, I personally feel that whether you can help anybody or not, that's not important. But you must have an empathy towards the environment, towards people, towards anybody living. You must have empathy towards any living form of life. And out of that empathy comes a desire to reach out. And it doesn't come consciously. If you are empathetic enough, you will come across occasions where you naturally react. It may help a person, it may not help a person, but your outpourings come out very naturally and without any purpose, any purpose.
Every Sunday.
So that was the basic thing.
That.
I did it for 40 years, for about 40 episodes every Sunday. But then I realized I was being kind of branded as a kind of a motivator or I didn't want to do anything of that kind. It was a simple, harmless outpouring, my outpouring. And it was accepted by people. I'm very grateful to the audience to have been associated. And now that you mentioned that I read out...
I would like you to recite something.
Okay, I will. There was this, one I'll recite in English and one in Hindi. I'm not very good, but
you are good.
But whatever it is, and the English poem basically came out of a photograph by a friend of ours, Dr. Shobhit Chawla. He's a fantastic eye surgeon, but he's turned out to be a better photographer also. And he took out a photograph which he put on the social media. It was basically on the residency where he shot a frame where sunlight was filtering through the foliage and onto some dilapidated broken pillars. And it just flew out of my pen, and I just wrote ad hoc, and I called it a sunlight on a broken column. So here it goes, sunlight on a broken column. Withered in spirit, broken and forlorn, but I do still stand tall amongst the memories of yore. Cut to size, life's longing ebbing away, a moment of reflection. In the sunrise, a deflection of a pointless aggression, agony and ecstasy unbound. In the march of time, lay drowned, for I am now a sunlight on a broken column. That was and if you see the photograph, probably you will relate to it better what I was talking about. That was a spontaneous outpouring.
I saw that photograph.
Apologies if it did not fit into.
Also?
Yes. This I wrote a few years back during 15th August on the morning of 15th August. It was just another outpouring. हर कतरा महके जज्बा, हर कतरा महके जज्बा, तेरी खिदमत में सर अपना, तेरी खिदमत में सर अपना, लहू से पिरोए माँ तेरा हर सपना अपना, लहू से पिरोए माँ तेरा हर सपना अपना, माँ तुझे सलाम. That was a 15th August outpouring. So I'm a kind of a bathroom poet, and these are outpourings which I hope I didn't.
We could look at some questions from our viewers, and there's a lot of appreciation for whatever you've spoken. Yasmin Khan says wonderful, and Anvishak says age cannot wither nor custom stale your charm.
Oh,
so you have
thank you.
Shakespeare.
I'm touched.
Chandar Gyan Khosla says wonderful thoughts. Farzana Shahab says we all love you, Chandar Bhai. And
I'm blushing.
So I can see mostly Arshia and Rajiv Kapoor and Farzana again. It's all wonderful appreciation. Seema Siddiqui has one question. I thought the questions weren't going to come. They all seem to love you. Adab Chandar Sahab, how nostalgic to listen to you today. I was wondering, have you seen any change in the engagement with the bookstore in these digital times? Does it feel different? I think you've already answered.
Like I said, from booksellers, from traditional booksellers, we've come down to those selling books. When you saunter in a mall, you just see something which has been displayed. It's not a bookstore. So that is where what is happening. And those selling books are a threat to traditional bookstores. But we have to accept, with changing times, that too we have to accept the changing times. So and technology is playing its part. But we as traditional bookstores, we've survived. And so many others are surviving. I think we too shall survive.
Anvishak again recounts that when he visited Lucknow in 1970 as a student of the 7th standard, Vishan Mama would allow me to read books without buying.
That's
a wonderful. Kiran Chopra says, Lucknow ka Nayaab Nageena, ek hi heera, hamara pyara Chandu.
Kya baat hai? I'm blushing, Kiran.
Manzar Khan again says, superb Chandar. It's inspiring to listen to your live experiences in a book trade. A legend. Sudha Prakash says, fantastic Chiku. With educator, adorable. Anyway. I can't take any compliments. The show is yours.
No, but
Sudha gives me a compliment as well. Mumtaz Ali Khan says, Ray's visits were iconic. The story has such a humane side to it. And of course, Helping Hearts Foundation says, Chandar Bhai, you're indeed a Nayaab Nageena of our city. Kiran Anand says, the best person to have chosen for this chat. Very informative. Truly a Nayaab Nageena. We love you, dear Chandu. Noor, you're fantastic. Reena Mitra again says, rock solid, Universal Bookstores. Wonderful memories of its journey down the lane. Zora Chatterjee again. Glad you have shared your vision and contribution to society, Chandu. Delightful to hear you in conversation with Noor. I think there's no end. Itni tareef hai Chandar aapki ke
all this couldn't have happened without your interjections. Probably
I've been part of your journey
yes,
too.
You have.
Many of us in Lucknow.
Yes.
I've been Pooja Maini says awesome session. Madhu Chaturvedi, Yasmin Khan, Mumtaz Ali Khan, Jyoti Sinha, Sudha Prakash, Anjali Chopra, Shankari Devi Singh again, all giving you compliments on your insight to Lucknow. Shankari is a classmate of mine. Shabri Mehta again, two icons of Lucknow. A great conversation between them, giving insights of Lucknow. I must also get some praise.
No, it's you. Thanks to you that I'm here.
And somebody says, talking about there is no end to it. I mean, I think the session would come to an end. But people, your viewers have really sent you lots of love.
You know, this journey of mine couldn't have been without the love and support of all the viewers and all the people around us. We have been proud to be a part of this profession, and through this profession we have served the society.
Yes.
And I hope our children continue to do so in the same spirit and zeal that I've inherited from my father.
Yes, Reena.
Andaz Saab, as they used to call him.
उनका तखल्लुस था.
Takallus Andaz.
रीना मित्रा कह रही हैं very informative and lively chat. गीता खन्ना कह रही हैं बहुत खूब, a true symbol of the 3 H's, head, heart and hand. Sayyid Ali Hamid, the evergreen Chandu Bhai. So this is from Almora, I think.
Yes.
And again we have Jyoti Sinha. Again we have a lot of people repeating. You really have a lot of fans. Anjali Chopra, Shahidul Khair, Kiran Anand, all of them.
Thank you everybody.
Sending you lots of love. I mean, I really can't take all what has come because there's just a lot. But it's all a lot of love and appreciation.
Thank you, friends, for all the kind words, your warm wishes and blessings. And I thank Noor. Without her, I don't think this interview would have taken place. She continued egging me on, and with the smiles and a persuasion, I think the silent persuasion, I think.
Chander, I'm proud to say I've been part of your journey.
Yes, I know. You have every right.
And I've always maintained that you started it all. What Lucknow sees today, in terms of culture, in terms of performances, in terms of literary activities, just to round it up, I think you started it all. There was a lull in Lucknow till you took on.
It was actually my inheritance, the team Universal, that did it all, and what we continue to do. I hope we can continue in the same zeal and spirit. Thank you. Thank you, friends.
Viewers.
Thank you, Noor.
Please wait for our next episode of Nayaab Nageene. We hope to have you back with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.